Our state has some incredible problems. My name is Lynn Hinderrocker. I'm here to talk about that with you and talk about the trends that have shaped this state and dragged us in one direction or another. We're not really we're not realizing the dream we had way back in the early 2000s or even around 2008 or 9 or 10. My name is Lynn Hinderrocker. Welcome to WOWBiz, Nebraska. We're going to get it on right now. New is now. All right, we're going to be talking about that. Thanks for watching WOWBiz, Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderrocker with my good friend and commentator, Bruce Arendt.
Lynn.
Thanks for joining me, sir.
Thank you.
You know, we're going to be talking about newness and how it relates to the entire state of Nebraska. It'll be a very interesting topic for you, I think.
Okay.
Yes. But new is always fascinating in the world of marketing, particularly, you know, new and different and so on. And I just think it has tremendous importance. And then I'm going to actually ask you to kind of be a devil's advocate here, okay?
Easy.
That'd be an easy thing for you to do, wouldn't it? All right. So here's the deal. I want to talk to you a little bit about what will precede this. And we're talking right now about a regional initiative, a statewide initiative. We talked about it months ago.
Right.
Yes, called Nebraska.
Nebraska, I remember
Nebraska, that's right. And you like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of a cool little word spin.
Right.
But since then, I've had the opportunity to dig into it really deeply. But I want to go back and talk with you about something you and I are of the age that we can recall this. And this was the Pepsi versus Coke. I guess it would basically be an advertising battle or war.
Yeah.
I think it was in the 70s.
Yeah.
And maybe extended into the 80s.
They were always kind of head to head.
For market share.
For market share.
Absolutely. So what was happening, as you recall, is the Coke, of course, was the dominant player, the lead brand.
Right.
And Pepsi was hammering them in all kinds of different ways, coming at them from promotional and retail angle, whatever they could do to try to get more users. And they just couldn't get it done, right? And so it's a very interesting psychological thing. Positioning, this is, by the way, when the book Positioning came out. I don't know if you know. But anyway, so they said, well, tell you what we'll do. We'll cede to Coke and their brand managers. We'll say, okay, you are the dominant players in the industry.
Okay.
You are the traditional winners. Nobody can usurp that position. But our brand is for the new, young drinkers.
The Pepsi generation.
The Pepsi generation.
I remember that.
Yes. And it was very confrontational, but they had the perfect, how could Coke battle that against that?
Because
what could they say?
Everybody who was drinking Pepsi on the commercials was young and cool and
attractive.
Yeah, they had hair.
Yes. It was really something. And it was fun to watch them go at it because week after week on TV, you would see it interpreted this basic idea. So, and you know what they say, you know, there's a neuro-linguistic programming. NLP is kind of an interesting little genre of behavioral change.
Right.
And they use this phrase, reframing. I'm going to say that correctly, reframing.
Okay.
Marketing industry calls it repositioning, but reframing is really thinking about something differently.
With a different frame of mind.
Different frame of mind, putting a different frame on it. It's almost like, you know, we watch all the political debates going on right now.
Right.
And somebody hones in on one issue, could be healthcare, or could be, you know, international affairs and problems, but they're trying to reframe the viability of the candidate within the context that they're creating.
Okay.
Right, okay. Now, so back to the Coke and Pepsi thing. Clearly Pepsi was a winner there. I'm thinking about the state of Nebraska. I'm thinking about the fact that we lose 3,000 young, smart college graduates every year.
Yeah, which is a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Somebody at the Unicameral said just recently, he was kind of counting it in a different way. He said, we lost 24,000 people last year. That would have been 2019. Now, don't ask me exactly how he was counting it, but nevertheless.
It sounds serious, though.
It's very serious, and it's been going on. I'm kind of proud of the fact that I know this. Since March of 2002, that's when I began watching the state of Nebraska struggle with the perception, reputation, and these young folks in particular leaving.
That's when the shift started?
That's when it started. Yeah, 2002.
What was the impetus?
Pardon me?
What was the impetus? What started it? What caused it?
Well, we're going to talk about that right now.
Okay,
I mean, this is the issue. You talk to these young people, and nobody has ever done this before. I went to Lincoln, Nebraska. I put some effort into getting some people that were graduates or were graduating from UNL. Mm-hmm. I got them to agree to go to Starbucks on O Street and meet with me. And I conducted an informal focus group with these young folks. And I bought them all a cup of coffee, and they were fine.
Right, right.
And we went round, and I said, you know, why are you leaving? Yes. I think I'm leaving. My bags are packed. I'm leaving. I said, you all grew up here? Oh yeah, I came from Gering and Wayne and da-da-da-da-da. And, you know, love Nebraska, grew up, great family. But you're leaving. They said, yeah, oh yeah. Huh. And I said, now come on, come clean with me. What's up? Why are you leaving? And they looked like, are you crazy? They said, you know, what we're looking for, we're raised in digital, this is the digital world.
Right.
And there's all kinds of incredible apps and new products and things that are happening, alliances. People are forming relationships with little businesses in China, for Pete's sake, you know. But that doesn't seem to be happening here in Nebraska. At least that was their perception. I'm sure there are many
But there's
exceptions.
nothing going on
Well, there isn't anything new.
New going on, okay.
A lot of very successful companies in this state, no doubt about it, and
Right.
wonderful people and hardworking and profitable.
Right.
But here's the thing, and you talked about complacency once a few weeks ago when we chatted. You get to a certain point, don't you? Mm-hmm. And you kind of repeat the formula.
Right. You just kind of wash and rinse and repeat.
Right. And as long as it's profitable, you can justify that.
Yeah.
But really, the success becomes first a routine, and then it becomes a prison.
Yeah.
You know, and you see these executives, and they're sitting behind the desk, and they're doing the same thing this year as they were doing a year ago. Same thing. And these are young people. They're ambitious. They want to get in front of the crowd, you know, in front of the line or whatever. And their attitude, there's just not a lot happening in the business sector here. Not a lot of cool jobs. And we want to go find them. So they're going to Denver and Utah, Salt Lake City. They're going to Austin,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. All right. So this is how it is, right? So if you were Pepsi and what I just described to you was Coke, what would you do, right? What would you do? How would you flip it or reframe it so that you could get the same results Pepsi got 30, 40 years ago, right? I'm thinking that Nebraska, by injecting that word W,
right,
or just that letter W into the first syllable of the word Nebraska, that all kinds of things kind of unfold, you know, or at least possibilities, implications.
Right. You know, it's implication of
that's what it is.
something fresh and new and
yes. Somebody say, what's new in Nebraska? You know, what's going on there? Well, a lot of new things are happening, you know, and it'd be an easy thing to pull off. Now, the quick question is this, and I have presented this to a couple of the leaders around our state,
okay,
and got generally pretty favorable feedback. I think implementation is part of the issue.
Right.
Right. So let's talk about here.
Okay.
Now, we got a little essay here that I think you've just briefly skimmed.
Yep.
And on the third page of that essay, I'll just ask you to go right to that. You can see there's 9 key points.
9 points.
Yeah.
Right.
And these are the implementation points. And I think this is where people say, well, it's a cool idea, but how are you going to do it, right? So I'm going to start off right at the very top. I think training, and this is the hard part, how do you convince a successful company in Scottsbluff, you're in Omaha, or call some guy in Wayne and say, you don't know me, but I'm telling you, you are in a routine, you are in a rut, I'm going to get you out of that using some of the thinking that's in Eric Ries's book, The Lean Startup, right? He talks about entrepreneurial thinking and all that.
right.
Not an easy thing to do, but that's what has to be done.
Yeah.
You have to be able to say, you know, all these companies, here's 20, 30, 40, 50 companies, and they were doing this and this and this, and then they brought in training, they started thinking differently, see? And now they're doing 15%, 20% better in revenue, we'll say revenue, than they were, a couple, 2, 3 years ago.
But individually, companies have to feel a need.
They have to feel the need.
To embrace something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's pretend you're on the phone and you represent my company. And you're on the phone and you're saying, Lynn, I'm going to get some appointments out there. You can go out there and pitch them, and we're going to get these training things going.
Right.
Right. What would you say to somebody who says, Bruce, thanks for calling, but, we're doing okay. We seem to be doing okay. What would you say? You say, I'm talking about Nebraska now. We got to think about this. I mean, would you mention the talent attraction thing? Say, we're losing people. You're not going to be able to find sharp people for your executive suite in 5 or 10 years. Would you say that, or would they say, I'm not worried about all that. I just want to make the profit today and go home? What would you say to that?
Off the top of my head, I think I would try to talk about the future, the long term, down the road. You have to, right now everything might be fine, but you have to be thinking about where is the talent pool for down the road, where's the innovation for down the road, because you're going to have to meet the competition down the road.
Yeah. Yeah.
And have something to offer and be fresh with that.
Yeah, I think so too. It's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, let's talk about money. What would you think if you got in the car, say you're on my team.
Okay.
Bruce, hey, today's the day you're going to drive to Norfolk today.
Right.
And you're going to go out there and we're going to cement the deal. This is a company, let's say, that does $10 million in sales a year.
Okay.
Kind of a medium-sized firm in the state of Nebraska. And they say, look, I want to have I'd have 5 to 10 guys and gals in your training program. And you say, well, I'm going to come out here once a month. I'll come out here and we'll do a half a day, maybe 2/3 of a day for a training session. You pay for lunch, and I'll get here and do the whole deal.
Right.
Yeah? And I work with Lynn and I have all the materials. And he says, great, that sounds reasonable. And how many times are you going to come out here? And say, well, 6 to 12 times, we'll say. Might come for 6 months, or if you want to really kick it, maybe come once a month for a year. What do you think a company who does $10 million in sales and kind of is open to the training, can see some value, what do you think they'd be prepared to pay for 6 months of training from WOWBiz Growth Dynamics, hosts of WOWBiz Nebraska? And here's the thing, what if we are linked to or working with the Economic Development Department in Lincoln, Nebraska? See, that's a big if.
Right.
Right, that adds some credibility, of course, a little bit. It's an interesting question. Do you have any idea?
Would it be, I'm thinking percentages of their...
Percentages. Out on the East Coast, a friend of mine does training for corporations. I said, what do you charge? He says, I charge $200 to $250 a head per attendee for a half day, like a half day session. So if he has 10 people, that's $2,500, something like that. But I'm going to come to the field and say, look, I don't care if you have 2 people or 25 people in the room. We will offer you the same value, the same price. Kind of interesting. Yeah. It's a tough number.
It is a tough number.
I'm
thinking, I don't know, 1 or 2%. I mean, possibly. If it's of that type of that level of.
Yeah, it's senior level stuff.
Yeah.
Innovation training, change management training, marketing training, research. Let me tell you what.
I'd also ask what they're doing currently.
Oh yeah, I got to have an orientation session.
Because are they doing anything at all?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Most of them aren't doing too much.
Yeah, probably not.
Tell you what, we'll be right back with Bruce Arendt right here at WOWBiz Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderrocker. Thank you so much for watching us. Here we are digging right into the next chapter. It's all related to the evolution of Blueprint Nebraska. Many of you are listeners here. You know that Blueprint is kind of the defining strategic plan for what the state wants or thinks it wants to become by 2030. So it's a good, long, very ambitious plan, very ambitious. So somebody's got to do something. Somebody's got to put boots on the ground. Boots on the ground. So we're going to just wrap up here briefly, and then we'll go on to a couple other things.
Okay.
Yeah. So Blueprint Nebraska was launched by former Senator Jim Smith, who's the executive director, Brian Sloan, who's the new guy at the Nebraska Chamber of Commerce, some wonderful people, I think 300 business owners, as well as mayors and some other VIPs across the state. And all of them worked very hard, and they got a lot of tremendous grassroots feedback, and they produced quite a plan. Right. And I've had the opportunity to skim it a couple times and have it explained to me, because I need a little bit of help to get through all the overlapping considerations. But it's very good. But the question I think everybody out there in the state of Nebraska that's in the business community, they are saying, how are we supposed to actualize this?
Now what?
Now what?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're hoping that WOWBiz Nebraska, Nebraska as a theme will come together, and we'll be able to do some things with them and really make a difference in this state's future. Yeah. Yeah.
Make it applicable.
Make it applicable, put boots on the ground, as I mentioned before. That seems to be the phrase. People love the phrase because they like the notion of And, you know, maybe it's because we're agricultural, you know.
Yeah, but it's action oriented.
It's action oriented. Get out in the field and make it happen. No more theory. So thank you so much for chatting with me.